Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to dive a little deep here into what I call the Phoenix process. This is the journey of letting old parts of yourself die so new parts can live. This transformative path is about reclaiming your body's wisdom and breaking patterns that no longer serve your highest good. So I can still feel the exact moment my body finally got my attention. It was a hot summer day. I'd just come in from carrying groceries, food that I knew I didn't even have time to actually cook. It was all going to get wasted, but I was just caught in this loop of doing and doing and doing. My heart was racing. My mind was spinning with deadlines and an endless to-do list. For months, I had been working nonstop while surrounded by, frankly, unsupportive friends and an emotionally unavailable partner. I was trying to do everything on my own, being the strong one, never asking for help, pushing through exhaustion. The breaking point for me came when I couldn't even walk 3 blocks to the grocery store without stopping to rest. I, being the person who had always prided myself on resilience and physical stamina, had to lean against a fence. Halfway there, my heart pounding, my legs shaking with fatigue. That's when I knew that something was seriously wrong. And today, I want to share with you 6 powerful aspects of the Phoenix process that changed everything for me. From cellular renewal to HPA axis regulation, energy medicine, gut-brain connection, and breaking free from self-criticism, and ultimately a comprehensive approach to healing that I developed through my own journey and now share with others. So let's begin with what might be stored in your cells that your mind isn't ready to process. This involves some spring cleaning from the inside out. So your body holds what your mind isn't ready to process. What's stored in your cells? Well, I've devoted my life to understanding how our physical bodies store both environmental toxins and emotional residue. This knowledge transformed my own approach to healing. And when I look back at myself after years of overtraining and using extreme exercise as self-medication, I can see clearly how I was running from emotions rather than processing them. Literally running. I was a marathon runner. I wore my marathon medals like armor, each one a testament to my discipline and willpower. And what looked like dedication to others was actually desperation in disguise. So here's how toxins affect your emotions. Environmental chemicals disrupt hormone signaling. Toxins create mitochondrial dysfunction and fatigue. Heavy metals affect neurotransmitter function. And detox pathways overload oxidative stress. Chemical burdens raise inflammatory markers. You might recognize these signs your cells need support. So brain fog, unexplained fatigue, heightened sensitivity to food, scents, and chemicals, mood swings not correlated with circumstances, and even skin issues reflecting internal inflammation. Achievement was my drug of choice, and I was a high-functioning addict. Multiple degrees, endless certifications, professional accolades. Each accomplishment provided a temporary high followed by an inevitable crash into emptiness. I built an impressive resume that masked a profound inner void. Understanding how detoxification pathways affect the emotional health is crucial. Our liver processes stress and emotions. Kidneys filter metabolic waste. Our gut eliminates hormone metabolites. And lymphatic system clears cellular waste impacting energy. And skin actually releases toxins affecting systemic load. The constant need for achievement was self-deception. I'm working on detaching from my constant need for achievement and incorporating more body-based somatic exercises instead of intellectualizing everything. And then with that, nutrition for cellular renewal includes sulfur-rich foods, antioxidants, fiber to help bind and eliminate mobilized toxins, hydration, which actually supports all pathways, and phytonutrients for enzyme function. Lifestyle practices for cellular support look like movement stimulating lymphatic circulation, sweating through appropriate exercise, sleep optimization, breath work enhancing oxygenation, stress reduction. My journey taught me that cellular health is foundational to emotional well-being. And when our detoxification systems are overwhelmed, our capacity for emotional regulation diminishes in direct proportion. This spring cleaning at the cellular level creates a profound transformation. Mental clarity replaces brain fog, emotional stability is fewer unexplained mood swings, physical energy supports emotional capacity, intuitive connection, and resilience to handle life's challenges. My approach addresses root causes at the cellular level while honoring the emotional impact of toxic burden. The transformation runs deeper than just feeling better. It's about creating capacity for authentic living. And this brings us into the HPA axis. This is your stress response blueprint. Because your stress isn't just in your head, it's in every cell of your body. I learned the hard way that chronic stress isn't normal, it's a warning. And when I received my lab results after that panic attack, I was shocked. My cortisol levels were severely dysregulated. High when they should be low and almost non-existent when they should be at their peak. My body hadn't just been giving me subtle hints, it'd been screaming for help while I stubbornly pushed forward. So let me explain that your stress control center is the HPA axis. This is the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal communication system. It is literally the central command for stress hormone release. This determines your unique stress response pattern. It regulates energy distribution during challenges. It sets your recovery time after stress. We each have a unique stress response pattern. Morning cortisol variations for high and versus low, speed of stress response, duration of stress response, dominant stress state, hypoarousal versus freeze, secondary hormone effects such as thyroid and sex hormones. Before my own wake-up call, I lived almost entirely in my head. I prided myself on pushing through exhaustion, pushing through hunger signals, and ignoring the tension in my shoulders and jaw. I measured success by how much I could accomplish despite what my body needed. So here's how chronic stress actually affects the HPA axis. Sustained cortisol elevation from contained emotions, inflammatory cytokines increasing with suppression, adrenal fatigue from prolonged activation, hypothalamic sensitivity changes from chronic stress, and metabolic alterations affecting energy and weight. Self-abandonment was my first language. I learned it so early it felt like breathing. In my family, love seemed conditional on performance, academic excellence, emotional caretaking, never being too much or too needy. I literally mastered the art of anticipating others' needs while systemically ignoring my own. And lab testing can reveal your stress response blueprint. 4-point cortisol testing shows daily patterns. DHEAS levels indicate adrenal reserve. Inflammatory markers show systemic burden. Blood sugar patterns reflect cortisol impact. And sex hormone profiles show stress effects. And based on this data, we can actually create personalized regulation strategies. Things like morning cortisol support for flat patterns, evening wind down for elevated night cortisol, blood sugar stabilization for cortisol-triggered spikes, and adrenal support matched to your own specific pattern. Anti-inflammatory protocols for cytokine balance even. And workaholism is a trauma response. This is how trauma gets passed down. We have the power to end the cycle though. The balanced HPA transformation creates appropriate stress response to real threats, quick return to baseline after activation, energy reserves for daily challenges, emotional resilience during stressors, and sustainable stress management long term. And recognizing biochemical individuality while creating paths for transformation became my approach after I discovered one-size-fits-all protocols kept failing, both me and my clients. So it's important to note that your emotional exhaustion might be literal. So are your cells too tired for processing your feelings? After years of emotional numbness and intellectualizing, I discovered my fatigue and emotional suppression were actually deeply connected. My cells literally didn't have the energy to process what I was feeling. So here's this energy-emotion connection. So emotional processing requires physical energy. It just does. Mitochondrial function actually determines resilience capacity. ATP production powers all the healing activities. And energy reserves enable facing difficult emotions, and cellular vitality creates psycho-emotional capacity. The breaking point in my career transition came during a particularly challenging semester. I was exhausted, financially strained, watching my savings dwindle. The voice of doubt grew louder. You're too old for this. You should have stayed in your stable career. What if this doesn't work out? You might recognize some of these signs of energetic depletion. Things like emotional numbness despite wanting to feel. Intellectual understanding without emotional integration. Therapy insights without embodied change. Knowing what to do but lacking follow through and the energy to do it. Quick overwhelm during emotional processing. I had tied my relational success to achieving something in conditions that prevented that achievement no matter how capable I was. I was constantly striving but lacked the physical energy for real and lasting transformation. And in this, supporting mitochondrial resilience is essential. Things like CoQ10 and PQQ for energy production, B vitamins as essential cofactors, magnesium for ATP synthesis, antioxidants protecting mitochondrial membranes, adaptogens balancing energy expenditure. Physical practices can create emotional work. Zone 2 cardio increasing mitochondrial density. Intermittent fasting activating cellular cleanup. Cold exposure building resilience pathways. Nature immersion for renewing energy reserves. And simple rest and recovery to prioritize energy restoration. The fatigue suppression connection is profound. Things like energy depletion lead to emotional avoidance. Low ATP makes feelings and emotions seem dangerous. Addressing energy before expecting emotional capacity is key. I'm working on detaching from my need for constant achievement because feeling so clearly now that I need to incorporate more body-based somatic exercises and not intellectualizing everything so much. This energetic transformation creates a few things. Things like sustainable energy, supporting emotional work, physical capacity for facing difficult feelings, resilience during challenging emotions, integration of insights through available energy, and transformation powered by cellular vitality. Energy medicine recognizes that emotional healing requires physical resources. Your cells need ATP to power the process of feeling, processing, and integrating emotions. And along with this, what is this connection between gut and anger? Your gut feeling sad might mean your gut is literally sad. When I noticed the connection between my digestive symptoms and my emotional volatility, everything changed for me. This relationship between my gut health and my emotional responses wasn't coincidental, folks. It was actually causal. So here's more about this gut-brain communication highway. The vagus nerve transmits signals to emotional centers. 95% of serotonin, the feel-good chemical, is actually produced in the gut. Microbiome directly influences stress resilience, and gut inflammation triggers brain inflammation, and neurotransmitter precursors absorbed through the intestines. I became my family's emotional thermostat, constantly adjusting myself to maintain others' comfort. When my mother felt anxious, I became calmer. When my father seemed distant, I achieved more. When conflict arose, I disappeared into productivity. You might notice these signs. Your gut is affecting your emotions. Irritability coinciding with digestive symptoms. Anxiety increasing after certain foods. Emotional reactivity correlating with bloating. Mood swings following gut disturbances. Even brain fog worsening with digestive issues. I had a client named Alicia who experienced persistent digestive issues and skin breakouts that doctors kept medicating without investigating root causes. The gut-brain connection is often overlooked in conventional approaches. The microbiome emotion research is actually really fascinating. Specific bacteria strains influence anxiety levels, and gut dysbiosis correlates with depression markers. Probiotic therapy showing mood improvement is profound, and inflammatory gut conditions are linked to irritability, and microbiome diversity predicts stress resilience. I discovered our gut literally communicates with our emotional brain through the vagus nerve. Our gut feelings are physiological reality. The vagus nerve serves as a communication highway. It transmits inflammatory signals affecting mood. It regulates parasympathetic, the rest and digest state. It's affected by gut health and microbiome composition, and it functions as gut-brain emotion superhighway, as the superhighway. It can be toned through specific practices also, things I teach in my coaching programs. Nutritional strategies for gut-brain stability include the following. Things like prebiotic fibers to feed the good bacteria, and fats, and polyphenols promoting microbiome diversity, fermented foods including introducing beneficial organisms. The integrated gut emotion approach includes the following: comprehensive gut identifying triggers, stress reduction supporting digestive function, and gut healing protocols addressing emotional symptoms. Vagus nerve toning improving gut-brain communication. And by healing the gut, we're literally creating the biochemical foundation for emotional stability and regulation. So let's jump in here now from self-criticism to self-regulation. So your inner critic was your first bodyguard. It's time for a new security system. I'd given up my intuition and stuffed things that felt wrong just to keep up appearances. Achievement was my drug of choice, and I was a high-functioning addict. Multiple degrees, endless certifications, professional accolades. Each accomplishment provided a temporary high, followed by an inevitable crash into emptiness. So here is the physiological impact of inner critic patterns. Self-criticism activates threat response systems. Shame triggers inflammatory cascades. Negative self-talk increases cortisol production. Inner critic reduces heart rate variability. Self-judgment creates nervous system dysregulation. You might recognize these signs of critical voice activation. Things like physical tension preceding self-criticism, shallow breathing during negative thoughts, posture changes reflecting internal states, digestive responses to self-judgment, sleep disruption even from rumination cycles. Emma, that perfectionist parent I talked to you about, she missed her son's soccer tournament because she was too exhausted after pulling an all-nighter for work. Her inner critic had convinced her that perfect performance mattered more than presence until her body literally couldn't let her drive. Understanding the origin of your critic is key. Things like protective mechanisms preventing rejection, internalized voice of critical caregivers, a strategy to maintain belonging and connection, an attempt to control through perfectionism, and a response to childhood emotional safety threats. The true cost of self-abandonment revealed itself gradually, then all at once. My relationships followed a predictable pattern. I'd choose partners who needed fixing, pour myself into their growth, and feel increasingly empty. My career choices prioritize external validation over internal fulfillment. Physical practices can interrupt the shame spiral that induces from this. So physiological sighs, resetting breathing patterns, hand on heart activation, movement breaking freeze response, cold exposure interrupting rumination, vocal expression changing nervous system states. Building nervous system capacity for self-compassion involves the following: gradual exposure to self-kindness, titrated self-compassion practice, co-regulation before self-regulation, physical safety, nervous system pendulation between criticism and compassion. My own Phoenix process began when I recognized how my inner critic was trying to protect me from the rejection that I actually feared. The self-regulation transformation creates inner feedback replacing inner criticism, regulation skills surpassing shame responses, nervous system returning to baseline quicker, physical resilience supporting emotional resilience, self-connection expressing authentic expression. And ask yourself, what if my avoidance is nothing more than shame? I think the shame underlying current is the emotion, deep breath, everything, shame and rejection. So now let's talk about the discovery method. This is an integrated approach from self-abandonment to self-discovery. This is the journey of coming home to yourself. And after years of treating clients with fragmented approaches that addressed either physical or emotional symptoms in isolation, I developed the discovery method. This is a comprehensive approach that honors integration of physical, emotional, and relational health. So let's start with D for diet and metabolic foundation. This was going to work on blood sugar, anti-inflammatory nutrition, a personalized approach for your own unique metabolism, gut health supporting neurotransmitter production, and mitochondrial support for emotional energy capacity. My own purpose emerged from my own journey through perfectionism, people-pleasing, chronic stress. And the breaking point came when I couldn't identify a single choice I'd made purely for myself. Every decision had been filtered through others' expectations, needs, or their potential reactions. I in Discovery stands for intuition and seasonal alignment. This is where we reconnect with internal wisdom. We honor nature's cycles in daily life. This involves things like seasonal eating and metabolic health, intuitive movement matching energy patterns, rest and activity balance with natural rhythms and the environment. And recovery from self-abandonment didn't happen for me overnight. It began with small acts of self-loyalty, pausing before automatically saying yes to requests, noticing physical sensations instead of overriding them, and allowing myself to have preferences. S in Discovery stands for somatic and nervous system regulation. So things like body-based approaches to emotional processing, nervous system regulation techniques, trauma release through somatic experiencing, embodiment practices increasing interoception, and movement medicine that release in stored patterns. The contrast after my adrenal crash was profound. I began a journey of listening to my body rather than overriding it. I discovered that my blood sugar crashes triggered not just fatigue, but irritability in relationships. I learned that my constant fight or flight state made deep connection actually impossible with myself or with others. C stands for corporeal health foundations, meaning of the body. So comprehensive testing, identifying root causes, targeted supplementation for biochemical support, addressing physical foundations of emotional health, hormonal balance supporting mood stability, and detoxification pathways optimizing function. O stands for outlook and mindset shifts, things like perspective transformation through embodied awareness, thought pattern recognition, mindfulness practices, gratitude practices, meaning making, changing physiological responses. The most transformative revelation was understanding that my body had never been the enemy. It had been my most faithful messenger all along. Each symptom, each tension pattern, each craving was attempting to communicate wisdom that my rational mind just couldn't access. V in Discovery stands for values and boundaries. E stands for environment and toxic load. R stands for relationships. And Y stands for your unique integration. This looks like living aligned with authentic values, creating boundaries that honor needs, reducing environmental toxic burden, nurturing healing relationships, personalizing your integrated approach. I realized addressing root causes rather than symptoms requires an integrated methodology that respects biochemical individuality and rejects one-size-fits-all approaches. So the old part of me had to die so that a new part of me could live. This Phoenix process transformed my approach to healing, recognizing that true wellness requires honoring both the physical and the emotional experience. And what I've shared today isn't just a collection of techniques, it's actually a framework for coming home to yourself. The journey from self-abandonment to self-discovery begins when we stop fighting our body's wisdom and start seeing it as our most faithful guide. Today, when clients come to me with brain fog, fatigue, digestive issues, unexplained pain, relationship struggles, I recognize these symptoms as messengers rather than problems to suppress. I see how their bodies are communicating exactly what their conscious minds haven't been able to acknowledge. That constant stress isn't sustainable, that people-pleasing depletes vital energy, and that ignoring emotional needs eventually manifests physically. So what makes my approach different is that I teach people to decode their body's language rather than just treating symptoms. I help them understand that metabolic health, blood sugar balance, hormonal health, inflammation, gut function, this is the foundation for emotional well-being and authentic relationships. My big work is to just sit with that loneliness instead of trying to cover it up. What's yours? And if this video resonated with you, please hit the like button and share it with someone who might benefit. You truly have the power to make a difference in someone else's life. I'm so glad you're here.